Yours?
Nope, I think that's yours, dear. It's definitely not mine.
I don't remember. Put one
Maybe
there.
I did open it. Oh, yeah, I cleaned my shirt with it 'cause
Okay.
I spilled coffee.
Board Chair. Board, yes.
Good evening again, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and your patience with the later start. Today is Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. The time is now 6:24 PM, and this meeting of the Boynton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency Board is now called to order. Let me turn to our Deputy City Clerk, Tammy Stanzioni, if you could please begin the roll call.
Chair Shelton,
Present.
Vice Chair Hay,
Present.
Board Member Cruz,
Present.
Board Member Turkin,
Present.
Board Member Kelly.
Here.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We are now moving on to additions, deletions, corrections to the agenda. Let's begin on my right. Board Member Cruz.
None for me, thank you.
Board Member Hay.
Yes, I do want to move item 14A up to, maybe just after public. The Heart of Boynton, before public, yeah. Right before consent agenda. And after public comments. Item 14A to be discussed there.
Right after public comment.
Yes. That's it.
Moving on, Board Member Kelly.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to add to, not necessarily to future agenda items, but to our future joint meeting, two topics. One is, and this came up because we have a circuit update and we're talking about a one-year extension tonight. To talk at the next joint CRA City Commission meeting about expanding the circuit routes. So I would like to have that discussion on our next joint meeting. And then I also would like to add, because it is also another topic that comes up later on this evening, but I think it is important that we have this conversation with regard to the future of CRA events / business development at a joint CRA city meeting, because I do not want to repeat what has happened in the past with Pirate Fest and other events where there has been this transition that did not go smoothly because there was a disconnect between the two boards and who was doing what. So I think it would be in everyone's best interest to have those two items automatically added to our next joint commission CRA meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second.
Yeah, I think those are some fine things to add. I would like to add for tonight, a very quick discussion, because I think it's relative to some things on the agenda. Also some things on the city side concerning, with this parking ordinance. I think I have a potential solution. Other CRAs have utilized the CRA dollars, and also I've talked to Catherine about this, to enhance the aesthetics for homes, and they do home improvement grants that the CRA can fund. So because there's a conversation about marketing and then also business development, what I'd like to do is start the conversation at a grants program that can help improve, homes that are eligible, aesthetically. I think it's a great opportunity. For me, it was something I thought about when we were at our commission meeting last week, that after receiving some public comment, this might be an opportunity where the CRA can potentially help and partner with the city as we move forward. And then also, just at a more macro level, this is something we can do throughout the whole district of the CRA and really build that program.
Can we add this to our next joint meeting as well, so that we can have like city staff also like providing feedback?
Well, I'd like to get the conversation started. That way it's not fresh when we get to the joint meetings, because I feel like sometimes we'll just have the idea, and I think if we did a little bit of like homework and legwork prior, then it makes things a little bit more efficient, and then we're able to launch and execute these programs and deliver them to the community faster than just, engaging in a long bureaucratic process of 3 to 4 months. So I'd like to have that conversation today. I know Tim's been kind of talking about this, so I just want to formally have that conversation today.
And I just,
Oh, yes, I was just going to add it, maybe it's a part of the 15C, or maybe we do 15D.
Yeah, I think it's important, especially since we've only extended the deadline on the, not to talk too much into that, but for a month, that we put off the parking. So I think this conversation needs to happen sooner rather than later as well. So I'm
Add it
fine
as a
with that.
15D.
and while we're adding that, I'd just like to say that I think it is important to have that discussion as early as possible, because this is a hot potato in our community, and the sooner the better that we begin to come up with ideas on how to resolve this among our citizens and it's just the city in general. So thank you.
Okay, if nothing else, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So move. Second.
Jinx.
Jinx, share each other a coat. We have a motion and we have a second to approve the agenda as amended. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Let's now turn to legal. Council, are there any updates?
Good evening, Board and Board Chair. I do have one item that I would like to walk onto your agenda with your permission. We have received a request from the developers of Ocean One to have you all sign an acknowledgement related to the lender. So they have a representative here tonight. I'll ask if, with your permission, if the representative could present this item, and then I can follow up.
Where are we adding that? Oh, right now?
Right now?
Yeah,
Legal?
so-
Yeah, let's just deal with it right now.
Do we need to make a motion to add this again, since we're amending the agenda, and this was brought forward after we just adopted it?
If you would like to discuss it under old or new business, we can do it that way as well. Go,
Whatever-
sure, go
whatever
ahead.
works. I
Yes,
just
that would
wanna
be
make sure-
great. That would
okay.
be great, Board Member.
All right, so motion to approve the agenda again as amended.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the agenda again as amended. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. You have the floor.
Hi, good evening. For the record, my name is Christina Belinkie of Miskell Backman. It's a pleasure to be here before you this evening. So I am filling in for my law partner, Bonnie Miskell, this evening. I think everyone's familiar with the Ocean One project and the tax increment revenue agreements that have been approved by the CRA board. Pursuant to Section 10.3 of the agreement, there's language that says the agreement may not be assigned by the developer to record owners without prior consent of the CRA. The developer is currently working on construction loan financing, and this provision came up during the potential lender's review, basically contemplating, all worst-case scenarios, and wants to ensure that in the event there is a default under their mortgage loan, that the lender will be able to step in and receive the benefits of any potential funding, in the future. That's essentially what this request is this evening, and I am happy to answer any questions that you may have. We also have a representative of the lender here as well.
And Board Chair, if I may add to that, so the CRA, as she mentioned, has entered into this TRFA. The TRFA says it can be assigned to, and the CRA has in the past agreed to assignment of various things to the lenders. There are two different versions of the acknowledgement before you. One you'll see has a strike through that would not allow the lender to turn over the property in the TRFA to an unnamed designee, successor, and assign. I bring this to your attention because in the past, the CRA has determined that it does not prefer to allow automatic assignment without coming back before the board. You may choose to make that decision tonight, but it would your past practices that we always bring that to your attention. So I apologize for my voice. So I'm bringing that for your attention tonight. The rest of this acknowledgement, as she said, simply acknowledges that should the lender take over the property, the CRA is pre-consenting that they can also take over the TRFA under the same terms and conditions. They would get all the benefit, they would get all of the obligations. In the TRFA, as it is written, the CRA could not unreasonably withhold consent to turn it over to the lender, and it is common practice for the CRA to sort of subordinate some of its other interests, but the wrinkle here is whether it could be assigned from the lender to someone else beyond that.
Any questions?
Yeah, I personally am not okay with, so just, I guess, let me start with a question. So this, what you're proposing would essentially allow us, well, what would allow the principal Hyperion to then assign this back to the lender. Is that the only entity that could acquire the TURFA agreement? Or could then the lender sell it to then another developer? Because I remember building this spin specifically because there was a lot of worry that this entity was going to, collect all these entitlements and then build a package, and then it would be then designated as someone else. So I remember specifically incorporating this in that initial agreement. And so, I'm a little bit hesitant for this type of decision at the 12th hour. Without getting some more information and without getting commitment that, obviously if the lender can perform the contract, fine, but if it's then given to someone else, I don't, I just have more questions than I have answers, I guess.
Sure, let me try to state myself again more simply. So what is proposed is in the event that the lender were to become the property owner, and only in that circumstance could they take over the TURFA. So that's the basic form of the acknowledgement. The secondary question here is whether that lender would if you all choose to go ahead and agree to that now, again, you couldn't unreasonably refuse it in the future, but if you choose to pre-consent to it now, that's one form. The other option is to then allow the lender to further assign or designate someone else to take over the property and take over the terms of the TURFA. So there's two options before you.
And typically that would be done, if that were the situation, that would need to come before commission, the CRA board, and that would need to be approved. What we're essentially doing is waiving those rights to approve that. Is that what I'm understanding?
So if you all choose to sign the acknowledgement tonight, that means that the lender would not have to come back should they take over the property. That would be
And then
pre-consented
they
to.
could assign it to someone else.
So if the language there is language that would allow them to do that in this agreement, you could choose to approve it with that, or you could choose to say no. If it's going to be assigned further than that, then it would have to come back to the CRA board. Now, you could still not unreasonably withhold consent, but it would require the lender to come back to the CRA board before it could be transferred somewhere else.
Yeah, I'd be okay with the lender coming back to the CRA board. I have no issue there, and then taking the contract with the TURFA, but I just don't want to streamline that. So that's just my position.
Catherine, has the lender agreed to the removal of that assignment language?
Would request that the lender answer that question.
I'm going to have the lender's representative come up.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Matthew Scott. I'm a zoning attorney at Greenspoon Martyr. I'm here on behalf of the lender. We propose the language that allows for successors and assigns because typically what might happen is the lending entity might create a subsidiary entity. And so we wanted to avoid the situation of having to come back. None of the obligations in the agreement would change whatsoever, right? No matter who it is that's here is bound to the CRA for the commitments that are made in the TURFA. And so we were discussing this with the CRA attorney. We understand that that might create concern. We hear your concerns. So we're asking to consider allowing for this assignment because the CRA and the city would still be getting fundamentally the entirely same deal and project. That being said, it's not something that we're here. This isn't the hill where you intend to die on. We want to promote this project, and we're working out the loan. This construction loan will help get it started sooner. It's just in our experience working with other CRAs, typically the assignment isn't an issue because the agreement binds whoever it is. But as I said, hear your concern, and I'm not here to fight that point if that is a major concern. We would rather, if this is a sticking point, move forward with the assignment without that language.
Any other questions or comments? Catherine?
I have one additional thought, and I don't know whether this would be acceptable to you or not, but on hearing that presentation, we could also say that it could be to wholly owned and controlled subsidiaries, which would limit it to be something entirely within the lender's control and not some outside party, if that would smooth the process for you in the future.
Absolutely. That's more than fair.
Okay.
This isn't a game playing. It's just normally this language is in there, and so that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that protects us and not that this is the situation we're gonna be in, but we have had experiences where then, a package gets sold off to maybe not somebody who's actually gonna fulfill the project. And so we're looking at land that has been sitting vacant, for a very long time. And so not to say that that's what the expectation is, but that's what we have to protect ourselves against, is that then it gets sold off to the highest bidder and the highest bidder does nothing with it. And now here we are with an agreement that eventually will end, which is what happened to this land previously. There was a TURFA agreement, it expired, and so now here we are again. So I think it just gives us a little bit of comfort knowing that that we do have that kind of oversight.
Totally understand. It's a partnership, and you guys are trying to make sure you know who your partner is. I respect that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so if you all are interested in signing any form of that acknowledgement, a motion with which version you prefer would be helpful. So if it's with the, a motion to approve, and I apologize, I'm on the tail end of a cold. A motion to approve the acknowledgement subject to legal revision to acknowledge that the TURFA may be assigned to wholly owned and controlled subsidiaries.
So move.
Second?
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. I was not about to repeat everything you just said in that motion.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you for allowing us to walk the item on. We do
course.
understand that time was of the essence to the
Yes, of
developer.
course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and let's now begin informational items and disclosures from board members and CRA staff. We're going to start with you, Board Member Turkin.
Yes, I did speak with Mr. Cunningham regarding item 14D. Also, I wanted to thank Chris and Ms. Jenkins for the financial executive summary with the forecasted plan that we have from now until we sunset. I think that was extremely impactful in the vision, and I think it's, it's happy to see that type of foresight. And, thank you for providing that great guideline, not just for this board to follow, but also for boards after us to follow, and creates a complete roadmap on what we want to see as far as the vision for Boynton Beach and how we're going to get there. And so I think long overdue, and just kudos to everyone who put that together.
Great. Board Member Kelly.
No, I do not have any disclosures.
Board
Thank
Member
you.
Hay.
Do I do not?
Board Member Cruz.
I did receive a call from Billy Cunningham regarding items 14D and E.
Thank you. I have nothing to disclose. Let's now look under items, under information only. Are there any information only items my colleagues would like to discuss?
Chair, I would like to get a very brief quarterly report on circuit on 8A,
Great.
if we could.
Staff, is it Jason?
Yeah.
Can give the circuit report.
Jason Bagley
Bonnie.
from Circuit is online.
Okay.
Tim, would you like him to
Yep.
just take over?
Yeah, Jason should be available to answer any questions you may have, and he can briefly go over the presentation.
Okay,
Perfect,
let's
thank
get
you.
moving.
Jason,
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good evening, board and board chair. Thanks for having me tonight. Happy to go through our Q4 update. If we have the presentation up, I can,
We do.
Yes.
okay. I don't have visibility on what slide you're on, but yeah, there we go. Okay, the next slide, please. Looking at an overview of the program. So on the right, we have our service area map. On the left is the service hours of operation and the total vehicle mix. Next slide, please. We had a couple app updates in the Q4 this year. It's version 20.0.0, now available with iOS and all Android devices. We've completely redesigned the app, so the appearance is completely updated. There's some new location selector and detail screen with clear information, but if you've been using the app for a little while, you'll notice that it's been really refreshed. We have a whole rebranding going on with some new marketing members on the team, so getting a lot of new materials out there. We're excited about. Next slide, please. Performance overview for the fourth quarter. So we did over 4,100 total passengers with a rider rating at 4.96 out of 5 stars. The average wait time is phenomenal, 7 minutes and 20 seconds. As a company, we aim for under 10 minutes. You all are well under that. So great user experience. That also tells us there's room for more capacity. So I think we've seen those efforts really, the results show over the past couple of months where there's been a lot of attention to getting some new users on board. We saw a great uptick in Q4 of 2025 over Q4 of 2024, and that continues as we go into January. We had about 150 more riders in January than we had in December, so all things are trending in a great direction. 247 new users per month. And then, of course, the economic impact that's involved with the service is always a great benefit. Go to the next slide, please. So again, here's that year-over-year ridership overview. And what we really want to look at is the fourth quarter, the last 3 bars there, October, November, December of 25, compared to the same quarter in 2024, a 74% increase. So love to see that one. We can go to the next slide, please. And we highlight that yet again here, but on top of that, we also have total unique users growing 56%, and 28% of rides in the fourth quarter were shared rides. Overall satisfaction, again, 4.96 out of 5 stars for the quarter. And the next slide, please. Our top locations, pretty consistent on these: Beach Stop, number 1, Publix, 2 Georges, Walmart, Banana Boat. We see repeat riders and heavy activity always to those top locations. Go to the next slide, please. This breaks down, we can get really granular with this data, and something that our team is constantly evaluating, seeing where there's opportunities for refinement. This is drilling down on the fourth quarter Friday and Saturday ridership. So we see how many passengers we have monthly for essentially the peak weekend days. And then that next slide will be Sunday through Thursday, month over month. See, October was a little bit busier than November and about on par with December. And then this next slide, this was an interesting one to look at. This is our supply versus demand. So the orange bars there are the completed rides, and the gray bar is the total requests. And the top is every day of the week. And then the bottom graph is the hourly breakdown. And what really stands out to me here is the 10 o'clock hour, where we're getting overwhelmed. We're not meeting the demand. So that's something that we could work with staff on of, do we open up an hour earlier and spread those requests out? So there's some refinement we could be doing there, I think, for sure. We also see a lot of heavy usage at the 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock hour. But that's something that, we always want to talk about and see how we can make some adjustments to better match the supply with demand. And then the next slide is just the continuous new unique user growth, something that we're really focused on now. Great to have repeat users who rely on the service and use us multiple times a week or a month, but getting those unique new users coming in and trying the service out and then adopting it is always a great, great result that we look for. And then the final slide we have here is just some feedback that we've gotten from some of our regular riders. We get this pretty frequently on on the app, so they can rate the ride and then leave a comment on there as well. We compile those and share them on a monthly basis, but overwhelmingly very positive and exactly what we like to see. And that is the end of the presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
I do, thank you. Hi, Jason. Thank you for the update. I know we've been kind of putting off an update until we had a lot of good feedback. So it's great to see this data. I am curious to hear what your thoughts are, what you plan to do to tackle that, you know, the or the request versus the slide that had the requests versus the rides, and how there's that supply and demand, and how you're going to, you know, what is the plan moving forward? Or what would you propose, you know, to solve some of that? And if it's something that, you know, we just need to tweak on the back end with staff, then you know, I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Sure. Well, we want to look a little bit further back and just make sure that this is a consistent issue, or consistent opportunity, I should say. If we're always seeing for the last 12 months that the 10 o'clock hour, we're overwhelmed, it's working with our operations staff, making sure that we have all the drivers on, and we can make sure that that's all happening. But it may be a consideration to test out starting at 9 a.m. on the weekdays. I don't think we need to do that on weekends, but people getting to work or getting to the grocery store or pharmacy, I know seniors like doing that early in the morning, so it might be worth having one driver come in at 9 o'clock to really spread those requests out. We're not seeing it, you know, an overwhelming need to make any major adjustments. There's just a couple gaps or a couple hours that pop up that I think we should test out a couple different things. And we like to do that in stages too. So we don't throw 10 different new ideas and we can't tell what's really making the change. So we'd probably recommend, let's look at starting at 9, Monday through Friday for a month or two, gather the data, and then decide if we want to continue with that, or maybe we try modifying a couple other features of the service.
Okay. Okay, well, I would, you know, Tim, if you can, and Chris, if you can get with Jason and look at that, I would appreciate that. Because I don't want to, you know, we're continuing to get new users, and if those new users are running into issues where it's taking them longer to get picked up, they're going to find alternative. So I want to make sure that as we're getting all these new users, that we're making sure that the service is as efficient as possible, because then that is what gets people to recommend it and encourages people to use it. And so I'm glad, though, that we continue to see success in this, you know, as a pilot program here. I think we have seen, you know, it being used, and I'm happy with that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Are there any other items you'd like to discuss? Do we want to get the NOP program presentation or anything? We good?
Good.
Okay, let's move on to announcements and awards. And there are no announcements. Awards? No? We just, which one, what did you want to chime in on?
The presentation for the F,
The what?
item F.
Oh, the bond.
Oh, hold on, it's not on my, oh, okay. Yeah, got it,
Your microphone.
big one.
Is your mic on?
Thank you, Reverend.
You're welcome.
I'll remind you next time in church, okay? As you know, I've been here for 3 months, and I've been getting my arms around this animal, the CRA. It's complicated. It's got great staff, and you've done a fantastic amount of work. However, I do have some suggestions as to how we might operate in the future on a long-range strategy. So I want to go through that first. So the first slide is basically a summary of, next slide. That's my famous bridge across Boynton Beach Boulevard.
That's nice.
I love that.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I designed, you probably don't remember it, but I used that in my presentation to get this job. Anyway, we need to have some kind of gateway entry, because this is the entry to Boynton Beach. Next slide. So these are some principles for a long-range strategy I just want to talk to you about real quickly. The first one is we need to make more TIF, because we have a big appetite and we have a big job to do. And the number one way to make TIF is to buy property and to tear it down, clean the site, environmentally clean the site if necessary, and then put the property out to RFP. But during that process, we have a discussion at this level of what kind of project would you like to have there. Every site has a different requirement, and you all have objectives for every different vacant site you might buy. So tonight, we're going to be looking at one of those sites. And so we want to put it out the RFP, and we'll find a good developer, and they build a building, and then we get TIFs from that. The second principle I'd like to talk about is focus. The one thing that we can't do is buy property every which, where, and place. You must focus on a particular area and stay on that area for 5 or 10 or 15 years. And you've done that on many occasions. You did a fantastic job on the Pulte homes. I mean, that's real focus. It took you a long time to buy that property, but look at the result. It's fantastic. So the focus that I recommend, of course, is Boynton Beach Boulevard. That would be both on the north side and the south side. Tonight, you're going to look at an item that's on the south side. And then we've been accumulating a bit of property on the north side, like the Hasner property or the Gracie property, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The other one is the Martin Luther King corridor. Now, the corridor includes not only the Martin Luther King, but it also includes 9th Avenue. And it includes, which will just reference, it also includes, we need to make a connection between 9th Avenue and MLK, because we have a lot of property on 9th Avenue we need to buy. You're going to see that slide later tonight. And we need to either run 2nd Street or 3rd Street through to make that connection so that people who live on 9th Avenue can walk up to MLK, because that's where really the retail should be, is on MLK. MLK is really, it's another Main Street for this community. And we have really 2 main streets, MLK and Ocean Avenue. So we need to treat MLK just like a main street. So the other one is the Cultural District, which is the focus is Ocean Avenue. That one I feel very strongly about. I made that suggestion several months ago about we need to make that the Entertainment District street. I did it in Delray, and there's so many restaurants in Delray. It's unbelievable. But I think we need to make that where we preserve historic buildings, we put restaurants in those buildings, we make this a food center. And one thing that's happening is we've got 3,000 new people that are going to come live here. It's very important. I know this to be a fact, that people who make a decision about where they live, they want to know where they're going to spend their money on retail, particularly restaurants and grocery stores. Those are the 2 main items. So we have a big job ahead on retailing. The other one is Federal Highway. I've been looking at Federal Highway. We have a board member who is particularly keen about North Federal Highway. And so I've really been focusing recently on North Federal. And I know where we should put the grocery store. We should put the grocery store on Federal Highway right behind the CVS store, because there's a left. In order to build a grocery store, you must have a turn from a major street. Most grocery stores only will go on Federal Highway, east of 95. They'll only go it. Look at it. Trader Joe's, Aldi's, Whole Foods, you name it. They only go on those roads, and they have to have a left turn or a right turn directly into their store. You can't go in and then wind around an area and then find the store later. It's got to be direct. So I've been looking at that, and I have called some of the property owners in that area. So I want to make that a real priority in my regime for the next. I want a grocery store here, and it's really important, and I know all of you do too. And it's got to be a high-end grocery store, because the higher end you have, the more people we can suck from the suburbs to come downtown. and that's a fact. Or the more we can get people who live on the barrier islands to come over here as well. The other principle I want to talk about is something, and I learned this from one of our board members, and I totally concur with this. We need to continue to buy as much intracoastal property that's available that we can. We recently funded the expansion of Harvey Orrier Jr. Park, and I went over with the city manager one day to look at that site, and it hit me in the head, and I said, this is where we need to have several restaurants. We need waterfront restaurants in Harvey Orrier Park and in the Intercoastal Park, because we need this, then we will become famous. And many of us have been to Jupiter, where the Jupiter Inlet is. When I first came to Florida, I lived in the Jupiter Inlet, and there are many restaurants. And I know many of you have been to Guanabana. We want to make this a Guanabana location. And also the other one is, if you've been to Miami River, along the Miami River in Miami, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 restaurants on the Miami River. It's a food mecca. This is what we need to do for our waterfront properties. So we did the acquisition for the city of the piece of property on Harvey Orrier. There are now some additional properties on that block that we can buy, and we're going to recommend that we start slowly, carefully, and judiciously buy more property and add it to Harvey Orrier Park Jr. The number 4 I kind of talked about because it's part of the cultural district, and that's Ocean Avenue. The number 5 is a very expensive proposition. But one thing I think we need to work on, and I'd like to work on it, I'll take it on with Tim, and that is we need to beautify Seacrest Boulevard. This is a ridiculous street, it really is. And the county owns it, and we need to lobby the county to let us take that road over. When I was in Delray, we got the FDOT to give up 4 blocks of Atlantic Avenue in Delray. Delray owns those 4 blocks, not DOT. When I was in Pompano, we had a lunch with the district director of FDOT. We took over all of Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano and all of Dixie Highway. And it's the only way to go is you must own your own street to make it what you want it to be. So that's what I'm headed for. So next slide, please. One thing we're beginning to do now is we're beginning to write. If you look at number 2, the update of the Boynton Beach CRA, we're beginning to write internally the Boynton Beach CRA plan. And one of them is through this acquisition strategy. So that will go, these principles of redevelopment and the acquisition strategy would go in that plan. Next slide, please. So this is some images of property. This happens to be the townhouses in Meisner Park that are on Meisner Road. This is one of the most fantastic projects ever. They dealt with the neighborhood across the street. They had single-family homes across the street. We have that in many places where we have to protect the neighborhoods that are facing the redevelopment sites. It's very important to do it. This is one way that Tom Crocker did it in Meisner Park. He put townhouses on Meisner Park Boulevard. Next slide. So this is the site that we're going to talk about later tonight. And I think that we need to protect the houses in Forest Park. It's very important. So the 3 red boxes are properties we don't own, and we're going to discuss one that we have under contract, 457. And we delivered a contract to 415, but we have not gotten a response yet. But I just want to let you know, my eye wanders sometimes because I see other opportunities, and that is the red box on the bottom left. Because if we were to get office, and I think this would be a great office site, we need a slightly more room. So that's why my eye is wandering. So next slide, please. So what do you build on this site? Let's go to the pictures. Let's just do pictures tonight. So let's skip this one. This was a garage I designed in Pompano, and I'll come back to that later. Thank you. Let's go to the next slide. So this is the post office site. I think, and I'm not an expert, so I'm going to bring in some experts. I think this is a hotel site. And I think either half the block is the hotel site, or if we can get a hotel that does meeting rooms, which I think is absolutely what we need. Now I've worked with the Marriott in Delray, the family that owns that. I worked on that Marriott. And I also worked on the Hyatt Place with Coulter in Delray. And that's a meeting room hotel. We need a meeting room hotel, and we need the whole block. And the one thing you have to do with hotels today is they must be jam-packed with amenities. You know, lazy rivers, whatever they are. Great food, a lot of meeting rooms, and it's an entertainment center. Right across the street is a multi-million-dollar project that we are paying for, this CRA is paying for, and that's our Performing Arts Center. This hotel will serve that Performing Arts Center. Next slide, please. Next slide. I'm going to show pictures only. So I said we start working on the front of that, and then later on, as we begin to bring in hotel developers to look at it, we buy the back half. We do it in phases. Next slide. Next slide. So this is the Hassiter property. We own the one that's in blue, and I think that we got a call on 413 West Boynton Beach Boulevard. I'd like to buy that one, and we make it bigger. I don't know that we can buy the one at 401 because that's a shopping center. It's mucho dollars. However, the reason why I wanted to expand this one is that if you approve the item on this agenda for the 14, now it's 14 parcels, we want to go immediately with, I have a nickname for Teresa, I call her the landman. We're going directly to negotiate with the owner of the subway to begin to swap property. I'd like to see office on this side of the street. I shop at Captain Frank's. I've talked to him. I said, would you move next door? Yeah, I need more parking. I need a bigger space. Well, there you go. What a great tenant, Captain Frank. He's the best fishmonger in this county, frankly. Don't you agree? Yeah, next slide, please. Next slide. So this is the other one, which is the Gracie property, and we have been called on the phone by the one at 213 West Boynton Beach Boulevard, and I want to buy that property because, look, the owner calls us. That's a cell signal, and we need to do it and enlarge it. So I don't have a concept for this, but it could be office and or retail. Next slide. Now, in my discussions this last couple of weeks with the Morrow brothers, they own property all over Boynton. They own these two sites, red sites on the left, and they called me up yesterday, and they said, would you like to buy those? They were thinking of, now this is a very important discussion because they came in to talk to us about doing a live local. Can you imagine a high rise on that site? I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm gonna have to talk to Board Member Kelly about that. Turkin, I can't imagine. So I said to the guy on the phone, I said to Mr. Morrow, Tony Morrow, I said, yes, we'd be interested, okay? We want to get rid of, we do not want live local. This is what happens in live local. You know how tall the building was going to be? Well, you know, it's going to be 100 feet. So next slide, please.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
About this, the 306 and 301. What's the zoning on that? Because it looks residential from the
Mixed use, I think.
zoning on both of those.
I think anything on the boulevard.
I don't know what the current zoning is, but the recommended future land use per CRA plan would be mixed medium,
We may have
mixed-use
to-
medium.
Yeah, I think he's answered it. It would be commercial, but we might have to go get it rezoned. But we're the ones
But
that
it's
should.
commercial as of now?
We can find out for you. I don't know right off the top of our head.
Yeah, those are important things too.
That's a good question. Thank you. Next slide. Next slide. One thing I've done is I worked on, when you back up to that slide, I had an idea that maybe one day you might consider a food hall somewhere in Boynton Beach. I'm working this food hall until I came to work here. I worked on this. This is a cigar factory in Bartow, Florida, and I worked and I did a complete study for Bartow last year, and this is the concept of the food hall. I'd like to call up the operator and see if he would come and see if he'd do. The operator has got one in Mulberry and one in Lakeland. He's an incredible operator, and he's going to operate this one. And I'd like to have him come in and see whether he'd be interested in Boynton. It's kind of like bringing an expert in and seeing, do you think Boynton could handle a food hall? But you have to have the right operator. Delray tried it and they failed because the operator didn't know how to run a food hall. You have to have somebody who knows how to run it. Next slide.
Hold on, that site looked a lot bigger than what 211 could handle.
Oh, I know.
Oh.
I know that. I'm gonna have to find a site for it.
I got you.
But I want to know whether he thinks that, I want to bring the operator in and see if he thinks we have the potential for a food hall. We have 3,000 people coming here. Food hall is a natural. So this one is the Magnuson House on the bottom right that we own. We have had discussions with the owner in the top red, and I think it's an important site to buy. So one thing we might consider is next to Magnuson, we might want to, if we get more property on this block. This is our downtown cultural center block. We might move another historic house here and put a restaurant in it. This is the beginning of Restaurant Row. So next slide. So these are some buildings that our firm designed for the city of Bartow. They don't like tall buildings, and they like traditional architecture. So we had to go through. I just wanted to show you the style of the architecture. To me, this is not an offensive style. It's not tall. It's very much like Sunday Village, which you're going to see a picture of in a minute in Delray. So I just wanted to tell you about this, and maybe we can get a building type like this on that block of the slide preceding these pictures. Next slide. So this is the other Main Street. This is going to be another 10 or 15 or 20-year acquisition area, although this last week we did get a call from one of the property owners on 9th Avenue to sell. So we're going to start working on this. But this is important, and if you look at the two streets I talked about, 2nd Avenue and 3rd Avenue, it's a natural connection between MLK and 9th Avenue. We can make this one of the greatest main streets in Florida. And I think that would keep Bonnie Nicklian busy for many years with her retail expertise. She really has it down. So next slide. Next slide. So this is the Hall family and the Morrow properties, and this is where I said I really want to get a grocery store, and this, of course, is Whole Foods on Linton in Delray Beach. Next slide. So this is the block. Now I'm going to introduce the concept of something that's a little controversial, but for those of us, including Commissioner Turkin and myself and others in this room, I'm a veteran and others are veteran. I'd like to move Veterans Park. Let's suggest it. It's up to you. You're the bosses. But I'd like to move it to Intercoastal Park and really make it a beautiful Veterans Park where the veterans can gather on an annual or a weekend basis, pray. I'm sorry. I was, we need a better park for the veterans. So it does free up room to put this grocery store on it. And we take the back property the city owns where the cell tower is, and that's parking to help get this grocery store. Next slide, please. I'm sorry for the motion. So this is the SunTrust site. We've had conversations with the future owner of this site. And so I'm just bringing it up to let you know, it's not, I don't know what to do with this site. The city has suggested what to do, that we buy it. It's going to be very expensive. We need to be very careful about this site. I did suggest to the city that they consider looking at the SunTrust Bank building. It's 10,000 square feet. If they want to move the Parks and Rec Department here, maybe they could remodel this building and get use out of this building. This is an expensive building. Banks are like a fortress. And it might be a very good solution to the Parks and Rec Department with a remodel. And then the back would remain surface parking for a while. It was suggested to do a garage, although I'm going to talk about a garage in a few minutes. I don't think it's the best location for our first garage. Next slide, please. Next slide. So this is our marina. That's Marina Village, and then that's Ocean One's property on the far left, and this is the famed Financial Plaza, the office condo. I have met with two of the groups of owners. One owns 13 condos, one group owns one. I call Related, who built Marina Village. I know Related's building in Pompano, and I'm trying to get them to come look at this, to tear it down and go build another building. Related's the one to do it because they built the one next door, and if they were to build a podium building, this is my imagination, but this is how I work. They could do a podium building with public parking and private parking. We need public parking on this side of Federal. We need at least 1 or 2 additional floors. And we could either lease the public parking, and eventually we could do a lease purchase. But we need to get somebody like Related. Now, Related is building on a site in Pompano that I was involved in. They're building a W hotel, and they're building a condo. They only build condos for the most part. And they know how to build a condo. They could get above the top of Marina Village, and they could see the Intercoastal, and they could see the Atlantic Ocean. So that's my solution. So they could put 2 towers up there within the zoning limits, and they could do a hotel if they wanted. So anyway, I'm talking to them about it. I don't say that my conversation is a 2-way conversation yet, but it's at least a 1-way. That's me talking. So next slide, please. Next slide. All right. Well, this is my other favorite subject, and that's waterfront property. And we bought 670 Oak. Can you imagine a restaurant on that site? Yes, I can imagine. And I think the houses, if you go over to Oak, and you go down and you begin to see the first single-family house on the lower left, if you go all the way to Federal, the first 2 houses off of Federal, we could buy. So now they're not cheap, but I think that we could begin to have the conversation with them. And I think this park needs to be enlarged. And I think you could end up having more than 1 restaurant. You could have 2. You could have a Guanabana. You could have all kinds of seafood restaurants. It would be a destination. but the destination would not be 5 miles. We're talking 25 or 30 or 50 miles. People drive, I've driven to Guanabana many times, and that's Jupiter. That's 45 miles to go to dinner. So that's what we need to do on our intercoastal. We need to make it a complete destination. So next slide, please. Next slide. So I've been involved in garages all my life. I was involved in this as a proposed garage for Pompano Beach. This is a 700 space garage because Pompano has run out of spaces. And so this one is on the table to be funded. Next slide, please. This was on the lower right is a garage that our firm was the project managers for. It was the first garage in Pompano. It's a 625 space garage. This is all on the Atlantic Ocean. The garage on the upper left was a garage that I did for, it was kind of a weekend assignment I did for Deerfield. They haven't called me back. And yes, ma'am. Anyway, it was an idea of a garage in the Cove. Next slide, please. Next slide. That's it. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Now I was going to start moving you along.
It was way too long.
Like, wrap it up. Keep it going.
All right. But anyway, you got,
I appreciate you taking the time and going through all this conceptual
I just
stuff,
wanted to tell
though,
you the way
'cause
I feel about this.
Important.
it is very important, and it creates the path to some vision I think we've needed for a long time.
Yeah, I must say you're
Yes,
quite
thank you,
a
Chair.
visionary.
Excuse me, sir?
Board
So
member,
you're quite a visionary,
Thank you.
oh, that's what
and
we
that's a
need.
compliment.
Yeah,
I know it is. So are you.
we need
sir.
to learn, and we need to make money, so. Board
Yes,
member
thank you very much for the very thorough presentation. Regarding the bond, I think the first step is discussing the terms, what that looks like, and then I think what I would like as a board member is like a workshop to kind of dive into this. I think the most important components of this presentation discussion is, first and foremost, is purchasing the land so that we can control ownership and decide what we want and how we want to grow this city. And really, this idea came up to kind of combat live local, and that is why I wanted to present the idea of going out for a bond, however that may look like, because as we've seen, we're losing control, every year it seems like, and so I think it's not a surprise that a lot of people are sick of high-dense residential projects, and so this gives us an opportunity to purchase and really decide and partner with the private sector and how we envision our city. Also, obviously, the economic portion of it. And then ultimately, executing what our CRA plan is. And so I think, for me, I think there's a lot. And, I think going down in the weeds of this presentation, I want to do this again, but maybe in a workshop where we have time to give feedback. Chris, you have been doing this probably longer than I've been alive. And I value that experience and that knowledge. And, I think the other most important part of this is, we're not just pulling a bond for that reason, right? We have a plan, we have a vision. There's things I agree with, don't agree with from the presentation. And so I'd love to really have a, more holistic and, scaled conversation around this.
Oh, I'd be happy to have that.
Yeah, so, maybe we can discuss that at some point, to have a workshop and kind of, go by each district and identify, after we nail out the bond details or funding details, then go by, each CRA, district in our plan and decide where we want to start first. Where do we already have the reality of creating a project as far as our, our existing land ownership, where's the need, kind of really get in the weeds in this in a fashion where we have a couple hours to discuss. But I do admire and I appreciate that we aren't just willy-nilly it, and that you've created a plan. And, I think this is, a great start into really reshaping our city, not just from what the CRA plan, the strategic plan mentions, but from the feedback that we've gotten over the last 5 to 6 years for the rapid development and density that we've seen throughout all of South Florida. So thank you.
One thing I did like about it is it really did include every part of the CRA. And so I feel like you're right, we do need a workshop on it, and we do need to prioritize where, but I love that it was every part of it, and it wasn't just focused on one area. So, do you have any comments?
No, I agree.
Wanna-
I think that a workshop is best. I think there's some amazing ideas, and then there's some, I think it comes down to prioritizing and what we can do. And, like was said earlier, the concern with Point Beach Boulevard being mostly commercial, I think I did look up those two parcels. One is zoned vacant commercial, and the other one is zoned multifamily. So I think there is a way that Live Local can get around some of those zoning concerns. So, I think we do have to prioritize those areas that we're in fear of having a multifamily Live Local project go up. So I think that those are, important priorities to really make sure that, especially along our Boynton Beach Boulevard corridor, where it's, it's a key entry feature into the city, what do we want to see there? And then we need to run with that and own it. And because if we don't, like we know, somebody else will. And then we have, if it comes to Live Local, we have no control. So those are my thoughts. I'm excited to continue to have this conversation and learn more about, the funding options and what's out there and what the plan is. So thank you, Chris. This was very thorough, but it's all exciting to see, what could be the vision for certain areas in our downtown. So thank you.
Definitely think this is a Saturday morning workshop.
Yes. Agreed.
Where we're all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Bushy-tailed.
Ready for it.
Fresh with coffee.
I'll bring a quick thought over. There was a comment made earlier about Live Local, and I want to make sure that we're being transparent and accurate with the comments that we're making, because Live Local only applies to commercially zoned properties. It does not apply to other zones. So I just want to be mindful of that. A lot of the, and thank you, Chris, for putting this together. At the same time, not every single property that was presented today is zoned commercial. Therefore, not every single property on this presentation today has the danger of becoming a Live Local project.
Yeah, you were just talking about the ones on Boynton Beach Boulevard. That's what I thought.
Just wanted to bring clarity. Another thing I'd like to see is long-term financial planning. How are we planning to pay back the $30 million proposed today in addition to interest? We know that we have TIF agreements that we've agreed to for multiple projects, and that's going to reduce our funding in the future. So it's just something that comes to mind. I'm not saying that we are able to do it or not. I'm saying that I would like to see more details and look at this holistically. It's an exciting opportunity to be able to purchase certain parcels. There are some good ideas in there. At the same time, it is a lot. And as mentioned earlier, we do have to prioritize. When this was first brought up on the dais, it was discussed as a bond discussion. And with that in mind, I requested the director to potentially connect with the bond council to look at our bond rating, to see our financial ability to pay back the potential bond. Now it looks like we're looking at a different avenue, but it's still important for us, no matter what avenue we take, to make sure that we're doing this responsibly and that we're able to make sure that we're able to pay all of this back in the future, and we're not putting ourselves in a dangerous situation. One more thing I want to say, as we're purchasing property at full price and paying interest on it, I want to make sure that we're not giving away that land for free in the future or at significantly reduced cost, because that's not something that's going to bring us money. And if we're looking at maybe providing incentives, which are good in certain instances, we do want to be mindful of potential TIF agreements going forward if our goal is to make money. So I just wanted to put all those things that were on my mind on the record. Thank you.
Board Member Turkin.
Thank you, Chair. Chris, in that executive summary that Ms. Jenkins had sent out, doesn't it include the TIF repayments for future projects?
It does.
As well as the potential repayments if we were to utilize this bond money? So I think if we actually did our homework and looked at this full-scale financial analysis, we would have all the answers to our questions right in front of us. So if you haven't, I would urge anyone who hasn't done a deep dive into that to do so, because it's very telling, very educating, and it creates a realistic plan that is objective. And, you know, I think it's hard to argue when you have the plan set in stone and at least a concept of it. And again, this is, from what I saw, was just a conceptual with this this financial plan, considering, you know, the budget not just annually, but, you know, year over year over year, then at 3 years at a time, taking into consideration the existing TIRFA agreements that we have. And so I would really advise my colleagues to take a look and deep dive into this so that we're all prepared moving forward with any decision that we make.
Especially before the workshop.
Yes, for the record, I asked for that during the agenda review. Thank you.
Okay, are we done? Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
We will get the date for a workshop. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to? Okay, we'll do that another time, but we will get it on the agenda. Okay, we're now moving on to announcements and awards. There are no announcements. So any awards? No? Okay. Let's move on to the next portion of the agenda, which is public comment. Public comment section of the meeting is for public comment on all items of the agenda or items that are not on the agenda. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes to comment on all items on the agenda. However, the board retains the right to increase or decrease the 3-minute limit prior to the start of public comment. Each public speaker shall be given the same number of minutes unless it becomes necessary to terminate a speaker's comments in order to maintain orderly conduct and proper decorum. In the public meeting, persons making public comment may not assign or donate their public comment time to another individual to allow that other individual additional time to comment. However, any persons requiring assistance will be accommodated as required by the Americans with Disabilities Act. Prior to addressing the board, speakers present at the meeting will go to the podium to make their comments, and speakers participating virtually will unmute their device at the time. Speakers may be asked to state their name and address for the record. Any person may provide written comments to the board prior to the board meeting. If anyone would like to speak, now is your time to please come down and line up at both podiums so we can keep it flowing back and forth.
Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. So I was very impressed, Mr. Brown, on your presentation. It was impressive.
Ms. Hoyer.
You're very welcome. And I agree with everything, pretty much. I would just say that on section, what is that, 3, the third principle, that maybe we tighten up the language to protect the mangroves. I spent a lot of time today because, you know, there was people reaching out to me this morning going, oh my God, they want to knock down the mangroves. So I've spent a large portion, well, look, it says develop the waterways, and there you go. So I spent a lot of time calling the state and speaking with Mr. Brown today, and thank you for your time. But I think maybe we need to look at that wording so it looks like your intent is not to buy the mangroves and knock them down and put condos or restaurants on top of where they were, but let's tighten that up some so that it you know, it's the intent that you guys really want it to be. And I'm still trying to get some people from the state to return back to me on calls about that as well. I would point out that maybe you want to, should the time equities thing fall apart, maybe you want to reevaluate that 95% TIF, because I think that's what Commissioner Cruz was alluding to. And thank you for, you know, both you and Commissioner Turkin pointing out we need to be looking at the money. It needs to be transparent. Our budget's gone from 220 million to 375 in less than 5 years, and that's a huge budget difference in Boynton Beach for our city. I would also like to say, let's see, I worry, while I love the idea of expanding Oyer Park and making it a little more active, I worry about putting too many restaurants, because you're looking at having to put grease traps in and all kinds of trash type receptacles or whatever it is you're doing to deal with all the kind of trash a restaurant puts out. But how are you going to park this? Don't build it if you cannot park it. Think about the staff you have to have for a restaurant. Every one of them needs a parking space. And then you can figure, what is it, 80–90% of all restaurant attendees bring their own car? And Tim's shaking his head, yes. So where are you going to park all these people? How are you going to park 2 to 3 restaurants? You need to think about where you're going to do that, how you're going to do that, and maybe you want one restaurant that's just really nice and beautiful on the water, kind of like a old key lime house, where you really do it and you do it right, but you have adequate parking. What is your plan? Are you going to bring the employees in from somewhere else? Are you going to shuttle bus them in? What is your plan? So I would ask that you think about that, and thank you very much for your time. Have a great one.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good afternoon, Mike McCray. Yes, a workshop would be beneficial. I appreciate the slides, but you skipped over the most important part, them dollar signs, sir. I'm sorry. You all gonna be doing a bond tonight, or probably discussing the bond. You're gonna be moving money that has already been set aside for a parking garage for downtown, which was put out by bond money. And you wanna move that money in order to help do some of the things you all want to do. We promised the citizens of Boynton with that bond money that we would do a parking garage downtown. That is my concern. Mr. Brown, you'd like to talk about what you did in Delray on Atlantic Avenue. I guess you didn't see the news a couple weeks ago. They're talking about about the noise ordinance. You have neighbors that's gonna be living here. They're not gonna be moving, sir. You do need a workshop. I did not get a copy of your presentation, but I requested one. Coming on, I need to know what is going on before I get up here. Not after I get up here, sir. I will be the next elected official that would in this place. Thank you. Do respect me.
Next, please.
That's Mark here, George. Chris, as someone who's read the book that you and Kim did several years ago, I encourage all board members to read that book as well. It is very insightful and it will give you a lot of knowledge. Secondly, one of the jewels that we have in this city is our marina. And for several years now, we have thought about expanding that marina. And we have the opportunity to do it very cost effectively. I urge Chris for you to get with our dock master, Brian Smith, and let Brian present what his idea, because it is very cost effective to expand it and make it one of the finest marinas in South Florida. I have gone over this with him in detail, and it is doable, and financially it will pay dividends several times over. In addition to that, check out our bond history. Our CRA has paid off bonds early in the past. We have a very good bond rating, unless you guys have done something in the last 3 years that I'm not aware of. But we have an excellent and we have great people. Vicki Hill has, in her entire history with the CRA, has had clean audits every year. There are very few CRAs that can say that. Trust me, you have an expert in-house and resources outside with bond experts. Do it right. We've done it before. We can do it again, and we'll do it right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Online? No? Public comment is now closed, and then we are moving on to 14A that you wanted us to move up.
Yes.
Mayor, just, and Tim, George Leon is online to speak on 14A if we have any questions.
Thank you.
Just so you know.
Right.
Bonnie Nickel will be opening this item for you, unless, Woodrow, you wanted to.
I want to say a few words first. You know, we've had some great ideas about how we want our city to look and workshops to work toward that end, and that's great. But one comment I'd just like to throw out there that unfortunate or fortunate that we get new commissioners that come in with their own ideas on what they think the city should look like. And we have a tendency to put these great ideas and others on the shelf, and we go after the new idea. I would like to see in the future, and this is generic to some degree, when candidates run, that they commit themselves to a city plan rather than their own agenda. I've been around since Adam was a boy, and I've noticed that many times, and everybody have different ideas what they want to see, and that's good, okay? I don't want us to not have vision, but there should be a master plan that we have committed to on how we want this city to look. Too often we just change, and we never get it done. I'm happy to see and hear the direction that Chris has laid out. Excellent presentation, but I just want us to commit to it. And the workshops that we're going to go to will be an opportunity to lock those things in place. So I just wanted to say that. As far as this particular item on the table,
Want to have
let
Bonnie,
me, huh?
want to have Bonnie do it? or
Yeah,
you got
Bonnie's
questions first?
I'm gonna call on her in a minute, okay, if you don't mind. All right? I'd just like to say, we all have some level of frustration with the project over on MLK Boulevard, known as the heart of Boynton Village. In terms of the completion timeline, things that's supposed to get done and they're not done, and for some frivolous excuse. So I have a very vested interest, not only because it's in District 2, because for too long, that area has been vacant. It's been an eyesore for God knows how long. And here we have an opportunity. We've done something, but we seem to be dragging our feet. So I called the meeting between the developer, Lewis, along with his staff members, and along with our CRA people, Tim and Bonnie. And we had a heart-to-heart talk, a long discussion, if you will. But, you know, I can't describe to you all the goodies that came out of that meeting, but I wanted to ask Bonnie if she would come and sort of highlight, summarize, give us a status report, whatever package you want to give us. And we do plan to get together in a couple of weeks to follow up on this, because I'm a little tired of it, and I'm sure that many of you feel the same way that I do. So Bonnie, if you would kind of
One moment.
do that.
I know we asked for him to be here multiple times, and he's not doing it apparently. So when he does come in town again, I want to meet with him. And I know that I suggested that a couple months back, but the fact that he just says, I'm not going to show up and I'm not going to do this, I find it highly offensive. So
Let me just say to that, if I could, we had that discussion, and one of his lieutenants is online right now, okay, to answer whatever question that we have. And if he needs to come, if we can't get this resolved and what we've set up with Bonnie and Tim and et cetera, then we take those actions like you were saying, Mayor, and maybe go the route that we have to go. That's sort of where we are. So that's why I asked Bonnie and Tim or whomever to kind of summarize what came out of that meeting and the status on where we're going at this point.
Chair Bonnie Nicklin.
Is that okay?
of course.
Okay. Bonnie Nicklin, Grandson Project Manager. Yes, we did have that call. Staff had reached out multiple times from our phone numbers and was unsuccessful, so Board Member Hay was able to try and got a hold of him. And I will say the world of difference has been his commitment to have on-site supervision. Hands down, that has made the past 2 months speed up tremendously with the progress we've seen. We are really close to having COs on 2 units. We're having a final walkthrough on 108 tomorrow, which is the NOP, and 106 is just a week behind. I mean, we are on the final punch list touch-up items, so it's really exciting to see those units move. We've had tremendous progress in 105 and 103 lately with drywall, paint, trim work, doors, the tiles coming in. We had the walk-in cooler installed in the first restaurant today. So there has been significant progress, and we have that commitment that we will have on-site supervision because they're there to help answer the questions and have multiple contractors addressing multiple disciplines at the same time. So that's been the biggest change for us. And so we have his word that we will have that on-site supervision until these units are done. Unit 102 just signed a contract and their permit's ready, so construction should start on the urgent care within the next 2 weeks. And Unit 101 is the bakery. They're still in their final design plans. So staff is hopeful that progress will keep the pace. And the tenants have been, feeling better about the situation as well.
And just keep in mind the photos and the images that you're seeing right now are at least 2 weeks behind.
And I do believe we have George, who's the online.
George is RS Construction. He's the main GC for the project.
He's available to answer your questions at this juncture.
Just for clarification, he's with the GC, but he's not an
They are-
agent of Centennial Management, right?
They are a developer builder.
Okay.
They're a developer builder,
Okay.
so yes, George is,
But
they're
he
all.
handles the construction, and I think the issue here is a little bit above that. I think it's more of, hey, this, the principal, I forget the gentleman's name, Centennial had received, what was the total amount, all included, with TIF and
If you
land
considered
acquisition?
land, TIF,
Everything.
the city, it's about 8 million. If
$8
you
million, couldn't show up to a commission meeting, CRA meeting, when I think we've been asking for this, maybe even online. I feel like the CRAs in the city have acted in good faith, and I would just like to see this returned. I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to, make those comments, because I think sometimes no action and saying nothing is saying a lot.
Okay.
Here,
Thank
real
you.
quick. Thank you, Bonnie, for the update. And I'm glad to see progress. I won't continue to repeat my past sentiments, but, we are finally seeing progress. And so, I look forward to welcoming, the tenants into their suites when they're complete. But until it's done, I just sit with a question mark as to when it's going to get done. So I'm glad to see progress. I'm glad to see that he is standing by his commitment to have somebody on site to monitor and make sure that things are progressing and that there is work being done every single day. Because, like I said the last time, the apartments are full and they're collecting rent, and here we are with tenants who are not in their space for 354 days. 354 days, people, that's where we are. So it will be a year in just 10 to 12 days, which is just unacceptable to me. So I'm glad to see progress. I am glad to see that we're moving forward. I would like to get another update at them, just putting it on the record that next month I want to see us actually having COs on and people moved in and having ribbon cuttings and being excited about what's to come. So I'm hopeful that we will see even better news next month. But, thank you. So thank you, Bonnie, for your commitment to, to these tenants and to making sure that they're taken care of and that, and it's getting done. So, and for bringing it to us, months ago to make sure that we could address these issues.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you for your support.
absolutely. Thank you, Chair.
All right, moving on. Moving on with the consent agenda, are there any items?
Thank you, Bonnie.
Any other items my colleagues would like to pull for discussion? Yes, no?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda, and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
I just want to, real quick, Chair, there's, I know that there's people in the audience that were here on consent, so I
Right.
just want to say thank you, and congratulations on your grant program
Yes.
applications. Thank you for sticking with us till 7:50. I'm sorry it took us so long to get here, but thank you for coming tonight, and we're excited about your businesses in our city, so thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the CRA Advisory Board. I'm going to turn to our staff. Could you please give us an update on the CRA Advisory Board?
CRA Advisory Board did make a recommendation to buy a piece of property that was on the same block as the old post office. That was their recommendation. We do have a vacancy on the CRAB board, so I think it's important that if, particularly this commissioners can think of somebody they'd like to appoint, it'd be important. You know, I've always thought that crab boards are kind of difficult for staff because, you know, but then it's a form of public engagement. So it's really important to have it because these people are kind of like ambassadors of public engagement. So then we don't get the same amount of criticism of the public. Well, you never talk to us. Yes, we do. We have a crab board. So I think it'd be helpful to have somebody else. I had somebody in mind, and I discussed it with one of our city commissioners. So,
Any questions from my colleagues?
Tim, is that a property that because it's currently occupied, correct?
It is. It's the cash checking store next to the
Right,
Island
is it
Restaurant.
on the market, or is this,
It is currently listed.
Okay.
And, you know, if the board would like us to, we could look at pursuing it.
Well, based on what I see there on the weekends, I think we should talk about.
yeah, I mean, we can talk about it offline too, and then talk about it at the next meeting if it's something we're interested in. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Also, just as a recap, they did discuss the Heisman Trophy. So they'll be bringing that back at the next meeting. So there was continued discussion at the next meeting in February, and we're hoping to bring it back in March, correct? Yeah.
Good.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, we'll now continue to old business. Jumping into 14B, the next item for discussion and consideration is the continued discussion and consideration of the Marina waitlist policy and forms. Ms. Utterback, are you going to be opening this for us?
Reese Utterback, Development Services Manager. We brought this back to you guys last month. I think legal went over it and tweaked it according to the board's direction. And now we're looking for any further discussion or approval.
Any questions from my colleagues up here, or any changes?
Nope.
That was me?
Motion to approve everything discussed from last meeting's on here.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, we're now going into item 14C, the discussion and consideration of the direction and assignment of the CRA Advisory Board. Didn't we just go over that one? Chris, is that you?
Good evening, board. With the CRA Advisory Board, as you all are aware, the CRA Board assigns tasks to the CRAB Board to work on, then report back to the board. As a part of your annual, you have them look at properties that are available, and you look for their input, whether we pursue it at this time, or if it meets the CRA's purpose, or if it's something that we would look at future land banking.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think a great assignment would be to review Chris's presentation and then, you know, come up with a particular, you know, plan, ideas as far as what they see as priority, or maybe, you know, what they feel is, you know, realistic. I think that's a good start. And then that helps get some outside perspective for that workshop, you know, if that is gonna be done prior. But I think this is something that would actually be extremely engaging and feel like they're actually contributing. I met with a former board member over at the Little League ceremony and just felt like, you know, it was not a waste of time, but, you know, wasn't as effective because a lot of things fell on deaf ears. So I think this is something that we're working on now and that we could provide to the CRAB board to then get some feedback and help make some decisions. So I think that's a huge opportunity. It might take more than one meeting and, you know, could be a very, you know, impactful assignment.
Yeah, and then to piggyback on that also, you know, we're talking about, you know, we're coming up to the budget. Obviously, that's part of their, they usually are reviewing our budget and all that, but on to that end also, you know, reviewing kind of the financials that Board Member Turkin was talking about our, you know, future and, you know, kind of the status to really learn budgetary wise when they're looking at that presentation, you know, what then, you know, how they can contribute to the priorities of the CRA too and provide that input. So I think anything that we're kind of talking about reviewing in the next, you know, couple of months are all very helpful for them to review and kind of give some feedback to as well. Like you said, board member, you know, I've sat on advisory boards and you never want to feel like you're just giving them things just for busy work. And so I think when we're talking about our annual budget, we're talking about looking at bond options, we're talking about priorities of the CRA, who better to also contribute feedback than residents of the city and the city as a whole being on that CRAB board. So.
Excellent. Any other questions? We're ready to move on.
Yeah.
We got direction, consensus, feel good?
Do you need anything?
I believe we have direction.
Okay, good. Next item is the continued discussion and approval for the purchase of the, would it be the 13 parcel or 14 parcel now you mentioned earlier? It's 14? 14 parcel?
Board Chair, if I may make a recommendation that you all discuss 14D, E, and
Okay.
15A all together.
Okay, okay. Okay.
14D, 14E, and 15A?
Sorry. The last board meeting, we had a recommendation from one of our board members to go look at the parcels that were not part of that group, which we did, and it's become a 14 parcel group. And we also did make the effort to make an offer on the second parcel that was in that group. We have not heard back from them. The owner was out of town. Son received the offer, and they said they'd get back to us. So we actually have somebody that's helping us work on that acquisition. So I will be talking to them this week or next week. So I think it's an important acquisition, and all of them are important. So it'll make an incredible development once we all get together later and decide what is it we want to do here. And we'll have that discussion. Because we have to be sensitive to the neighborhood as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Any other questions from my colleagues on this?
I'm asking you now to consider the acquisition of the 13th and the 13th parcel and the 14th parcel.
Questions or discussion?
No, I think I went over pretty extensively with Chris and Tim in my agenda review. Can we just get the map that you guys had in the review that shows the parcel of 457 Northwest included in this assemblage? Because I think that's an important point. It was my original hesitation. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Yeah, so thank you for going out. Thank you to the broker for, putting in the legwork. I did speak with Mr. Cunningham, about this. And so, for me, having this property contiguous now creates a reality to where we can get something done. Maybe it's one giant project, maybe it's two different projects. And I know there's some other opportunities that are neighboring the Boynton Inn, but this outlier was extremely important for me, because I just don't want to buy this land to buy this land. I think we have an opportunity now to where we can move forward and we can really, I'll say the word again, workshop what we want to see there after we get some resident feedback through the survey. So I'm okay to move forward with this. I know, I don't know what the direction looks like from the city attorney or what my colleagues are thinking, but, with the contingent of a contract for 457 Northwest, I'm okay to move forward with the rest of the assemblage.
Would any of my colleagues like to make a motion? If not, I will be passing the gavel first time to make the motion. I haven't done that before.
Let you do it.
All right, so I'm passing the gavel, and I would like to make an emotion for the approval of the purchase of an assemblage located at 444 West Boynton Beach Boulevard. And then do we add the 457 in there too, or separate? Okay.
Second.
Second? Okay. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
And Board Chair, would you like to make that to allow the executive director to set the closing date, as that was under further discussion based on this?
Yes.
Thank you, and subject to final legal review?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, how does that go if I want to second it?
I seconded it. I beat you to
Okay,
it.
you second it?
I did.
Okay,
I beat you
thank
to
you.
it.
Okay, so
Thank
now
you.
you just call it.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Kelly. Okay, it's been moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay, like sign. Ayes have it. Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item is continued discussion and consideration of budget reallocation for the purchase of the 13 parcel assemblage located at 444 West Boynton Beach Boulevard. Would staff like to open this item? Hi there.
Good evening, Board. Jabbar Jenkins, Accounting and Finance Manager. The proposal is to reallocate $2.5 million from the parking garage into the property acquisition line.
$2.5 million.
This would allow for the purchase of the 13 parcel assemblage that you all just voted to approve.
Yeah, so I think to give some historical context to the public and anyone else, originally when I had brought up the parking garage, part of that was land acquisition. Obviously, this isn't in the area identified initially. Given that we have a strategic financial plan to potentially acquire more properties, I'm okay with this reallocation. So, it's really just a matter of where the funds are, as a line item. So, do you need a motion? Okay, I'll make a motion for the move line item 02 TAC 58200 TAC 406 to line item 02 TAC 58200 TAC 401.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is the discussion approval of the purchase located at 457 Northwest First Avenue. Would staff like to open this item?
Yes, this is closing a gap that we really needed to close, and the seller was very cooperative. So we did redo the appraisal. We appraised it as commercial property, not as single-family property. So we're paying the seller approximately 12% over that appraised value. So I think we did pretty well on this block.
You said 12%.
12.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And historically, will go up to 20%, I think, is what was give or take with policy.
And that took us, but she came down how much from the last time? 100,000?
100,000.
Yes.
Good work, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good work.
Thank you to the
And
resident.
thank you. I know you're in the
to the
audience.
resident
Yes.
Thank
for
you.
working with us on
Very
that
good.
and seeing our vision, contributing to our vision.
Any other of my
Great staff.
colleagues like to have more discussion or make a motion?
Motion to approve the purchase of property
Second.
located at 457 Northwest First Avenue.
Okay, we have a motion to.
Second.
Oh, gotcha. We have a motion for the purchase of property located at 457 Northwest First Avenue. We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on. The next item is discussion and consideration of community input survey for 480 West Boynton Beach Boulevard and surrounding properties. Staff, would you like to open this item? Oh, hello.
Good evening, Board. Mercedes Coppin, Business Development Manager. So staff has created a 15-question survey designed to collect input on redevelopment activities, as well as desired uses and overall vision for the site located at 480 West Boynton Beach Boulevard and the surrounding parcels. This evening, we are seeking your approval for both the survey content as well as our outreach strategy for distributing it to the community. The survey is on attachment 1, and you can also view the link for the online version, which is what we will be presenting to the public. That's also included in the agenda write-up. Upon your approval, we are ready to go ahead and disseminate this to our residents citywide. We have come up with several methods of sharing, which will include print marketing. We'd like to do door hangers distributed to the surrounding neighborhoods near the parcels. We'd also like to do a utility insert in the March bill. That's going to go to approximately 23,500 residents and business owners. We would also do printed materials to be displayed in municipal buildings, as well as community meetings and at city events. We'll do a press release as well. And then on the digital marketing side, we would do an e-blast to our subscribers, as well as inclusion in our March newsletter, blog posts, social media posts, and also we would ask the city to cross-promote this as well across their channels and at their meetings and their events. So overall, we're looking at potentially doing this for approximately 8 weeks, with the results being presented back to you at the April board meeting. And we're just looking for direction from you.
Survey is great.
Yes.
It's so detailed and covers
Awesome.
every different type of business owner, person, resident. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And all the different ways that you're going to push it out. And that's great.
Very
Hey,
good.
If
Thank
there are
you,
no other
Mercedes.
comments from my colleagues, would anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry. I didn't get a chance to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't
No,
see.
we have a motion on the table. I mean,
A second for
do we even get,
discussion
do we even
this
get,
time.
yeah, but I think we already voted, so I don't know if
No,
we
we
can
didn't vote yet.
continue.
We didn't vote yet on this one.
But the vote has not happened, so
Okay, all
it's
right, perfect.
appropriate for discussion.
So the only thing, I would like to remove the section where it talks about 8+ stories, because, I don't even want to give that option. The reason being is, when you live right next door, you're going to have a different opinion when you live less than 95, and it doesn't impact you every single day. And so I think it's important that this survey, although I want to include everybody and anyone who's a stakeholder within the city of Boynton Beach, but, personally, and, I think practically, I think those who are going to be directly impacted by this should have a little bit more say. And so, I would not want to see the 8+ stories. I would even question the housing portion. What we've seen throughout projects that are covered as affordable or workforce housing is they're great, they sound good, they get constructed, and then what happens is that area and median income increases, and then so that workforce housing now becomes market rate housing, and so the intent doesn't even end up being the solution, right? And so, to be realistic about this, I would want to remove the housing portion and the 8 stories, because I don't want this survey to be skewed or jaded by people who aren't going to be directly impacted. You know, maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic or intense on the issue, but I want to make sure that I do everything I can for my constituency that I know is sick of the you know, continued high dense projects that we see going on throughout all of South Florida.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I agree with the first point about the 8+ stories. When it comes to the housing and workforce housing, I know it's not ideal, right? But I don't want to take that opportunity from residents to be able to say that. And also that mixed use includes residential as well. So I would just keep both just to see what people say. But I would be okay with the first request.
And I too, when you put out a survey, you want to give people the options to hear what the voices are saying in the community. And that's something that we need to consider, is what the public want. There is another option, the last one, if you would go up, if they didn't agree with any of them, they could check that last one. So I don't want us to become the HOA for the city and trying to decide for anyone what they would like to see in the city. Give them that option. If the masses don't vote for it, they won't vote for it. But the last one, if you go up a little bit further or down or which way, you know, where you had the okay.
Oh, where it said not sure?
Yeah, no, none of the above or something like that, you said. But I'm not sure, okay? If they not in favor of 8+ stories, they'll say not sure or whatever. But I don't want to eliminate that and become a controlling factor. So that's my input.
Well received. I mean, I understand that perception. I'm going to stand on my position. I've heard it time and time again over the last 4 years. I see it on social media. It's all over. People are sick of the traffic. And what I don't want is an opportunity for this to be skewed for any personal gain.
I agree with the 8 stories. Do we need a consensus from the board to remove that, or?
You have a motion and a second on the table, so you can take a vote on that. If it passes, then it will be as it is presented. If it does not pass, then you all could potentially move to amend the survey as it's been presented. Or we can take this item as consensus as well, but there is a live motion at the moment, so you either need to withdraw the motion or vote.
The motion.
You did.
Yeah.
Okay,
so we
can I withdraw my motion and create a new motion amended, including removing the 8 stories and then just keeping everything else on the survey?
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay.
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 Motion passes 3-2. Okay, next item for discussion and consideration of fiscal year 2025-2026 business development promotions. Ms. Rosmell, you're on deck.
Hi, good evening, Board. So this item is before you as a bit of a housekeeping item. As you know, the CRA engages in a series of business activations and events that are focused really on bringing business and support to our local CRA businesses in the CRA area. This item is before you for the opportunity for you all to take a look at the events that are budgeted for the next year and see if those are events that you all would like to continue. We were asked to take a look and analyze sort of the continuing compliance of these events, as many of them have changed in size and scope since they were originally founded. So this was to provide you an opportunity to kind of reassess that for yourselves and provide any further direction on the list of existing events, as well as any other direction that you would like to see for future business activations within the CRA. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Didn't you move that to be discussed at the commission meeting, or if I understood correctly?
Yes, so what I had suggested was that to have a conversation if we did decide that things needed to shift to the city, that the city be part of that conversation, because what we've seen happen in the past is the CRA would remove an event from their budget and it wouldn't end up back on the city's budget because of missed emails or waiting to get approvals or something. So what I suggested was, since we're having these joint meetings on a regular basis, is this should be a conversation that we have to make sure that staff knows that, you know, we are finding this in the money for the budget to transfer over, or we're not, or however that works. So I don't want to make decisions in this board and then we have to go and put our hats on and try and figure it out. I think it's easier to just kind of do it at the same time. I understand that we do have an event that is in the near future, and so my thought process would be as far as that particular event, that we proceed as normal, knowing that we will continue to have this conversation. But I think it's important that, I mean, this is a conversation that I've been asking for us to have for months, because knowing that eventually, I was expecting it was going to be back on legislative session this year. I was kind of surprised that it hadn't after last year, but that we really do look at what the purpose of the business development events are, and continue to look at this, because I don't want to end up on the front page of the Palm Beach Post because we utilized CRA public funds to host a fantastic, event, like other cities and other CRAs have been. So I wanted to stay ahead of that, and to avoid any negative press, because anything that comes, like I have said also numerous times, is nobody really cares what label or what name is on the shirt. It's the city that looks bad. So when events drop off, or events, end up in the Post in a negative way, it looks bad for everyone. And so I'm trying to avoid that by making sure that we're doing it seamlessly, and also that an event doesn't drop off and then we're getting heat that an event dropped off and it didn't get picked back up by the city. So that was my thought. But we can have this conversation now too.
Board Member
Yeah,
Tukin.
I agree, and I think actually the best way to avoid all those things would be to have the conversation now, especially if there is a concern if, some of these events meet that Florida statute. If our intention is to be risk adverse, wouldn't we want to have that conversation now to then eliminate that potential risk? I would think yes. I think delaying it just delays and increases the potential risk. So I'm okay to have that conversation now. I think also, given all of the ambitious property acquisition moves we've made, I think it's important that we start talking about this and not kicking the can down the road. Also, too, I think when we look at some of the newer projects, one thing that I discussed with Tim and Chris was, creating some type of placeholder to, promote these Heart of Boynton shop businesses, because we've invested so much into them. We've been through so much, with this deal in particular, that, I want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and we're doing everything we can to make sure those businesses are successful. So for me, my position is I think we have that conversation, don't kick the can down the road, and eliminate any potential risks sooner rather than later.
Question. When it comes to the next event, that's the spring market.
Yes.
In your legal opinion, that is an event that falls where on our risk scale?
Sure. So that event, when it was founded, was really founded in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic to really boost up the local CRA businesses. It's become an extremely successful event, and so now there are a number of businesses and participants that come from outside the CRA. That event does still focus, there is still special treatment given to CRA businesses, there's lots of data collected, et cetera, but in terms of scaled risk, that one probably is higher simply because it's been so successful.
Okay. Okay, so do we want to go through each one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Okay.
curious to see what my colleagues have to say, but, I have a list of what I think we should maintain and what we think. Obviously, I mentioned the Heart of Boynton. I think because of everything that's gone on with those projects, I would like to, have a placeholder so that when those businesses go live, that we can do something special there.
Yeah, there is a Rock the Plaza, it looks like, for Heart of Boynton Shops. It's on the future schedule for August.
That's a high risk.
No, not the Rock the Plazas. Do you want to go through each of the categories?
Sure.
Catherine, and just kind of explain what you were explaining to me on
Sure,
the phone?
and Ms. Kerfman has put up the budget items here, so we'll just take them in the order that they appear on your screen. So the Rock the Block, as I understand from staff, was due for a refresh anyway, so we've not really analyzed that one in terms of future risk, because there was no future risk. It won't be performed in the same way. Snapshots with Santa was again started as a business promotion, but was really received by the public more as an opportunity to take photos with Santa. And although it did include our usual Boynton bucks and attempt to get folks to businesses, kind of the public perception of that was really more of a holiday community event. So that one could stand some reformatting if it is to stay. The holiday light and decor installation, as those are really, at this point, temporary installations and not permanent installations. Again, that's one that would probably sit more comfortably with the city than it does with the CRA. One exception to that being the marina, which is owned by the CRA, so of course the CRA can decorate its own property. That's a little bit of a slightly different circumstance. The holiday boat parade, this one again escapes the geographical bounds of the CRA, and it was focused on supporting those marina businesses and involved the judging stand within the CRA and some other things, but again is larger in scale and size than within the CRA. Additionally, Mr. Brown has spoken with Mr. Duggar, the city manager, who has indicated the city has the capacity and desire to take over that holiday boat parade. So with your direction or permission, I think that one would be an easier transition. The spring market we just discussed, so I can go back through it if you like, but we just did that. The Rock the Plaza, in looking at each of the factors, the Rock the Plazas are probably the most closely aligned with what the statute permits, in that they are directly focused on businesses in the CRA during their low season, intending to drive business there. Boynton bucks are used to attract people to businesses. That data is collected, surveys are put out. The surveys have indicated that the business owners feel that the Rock the Plaza event does bring them business in their down hours. So again, in terms of risk, that is a lower profile risk. The Rock the Marina and Marina Month. Again, this event is really situated to assist with those businesses based in the marina during their low season. And it involves the CRA providing a form of financial support through community engagement for those businesses. So there's potential to continue that event. Certain elements of it may be better transferred to the city, such as the lionfish derby or fishing tournament. But again, the CRA does own the marina. It focuses there's been a desire expressed by this board to keep a vital waterfront and keep revitalizing it. So perhaps some changes or some joint efforts with the city would minimize the risk of that event. The night market, very similar to the spring market, again, started for the purpose of supporting CRA businesses during difficult times, was quite successful in doing so, and so other businesses wanted to join. Because of the success of that event, it again has really grown to be larger than just the CRA footprint. So that one, like the spring market, is a higher risk event in my evaluation. And the Bon Appetit Boynton Beach, the restaurant month, these are works in progress as to what the design would look like this year. However, I do think that an event designed to focus on local CRA businesses that appropriately tracks and reports out data that is intended to drive customers to businesses could be formatted in a way that is low risk. And to be clear, the statute does allow for CRA to undertake activities to assist with redevelopment, and that has been broadly interpreted. So it's just that this question has not been definitively answered. So I'm looking at a variety of factors and evaluating these. But those are each of the events that you have, so we can talk through them however you'd like to talk through them, but that's sort of the preliminary evaluation. The other thing I'd like to add is for anything that you all would like to continue forward, again, there are substantial parts of each of these events that are and always have been very focused on CRA and CRA businesses, and so the CRA could always keep those parts of the event if it were to be kind of a joint venture.
Okay, so do we want to take it one event at a time and just give our consensus on each of these, or how do you want to handle this?
That is up to you, Chair.
Okay, well, let's start off with the boat parade. That would go to the city. I would like to see that move to the city. Spring market, night market, you're saying they are higher risks and they had a purpose during COVID. So again, I'm gonna ask for feedback here. My suggestion was we minimize our risk and not do those anymore.
I agree. Yep.
It really, the night market has been such an amazing event, and it has benefited a lot of our CRA businesses. I've heard great things about it, great feedback from local business owners and from residents who, you know, may not have known some of these businesses, and then after the event, they attended and they continue to go to these businesses. So it does have that effect, which is very much aligned with the statute, to have the effect of economic development and supporting CRA businesses. So if possible, I would definitely like to, I know we might not want to move forward with both the spring market and the night market, but I would definitely advocate for the night market at least to continue to further support CRA businesses in the future.
This is exactly why I suggested that we have this conversation as a joint meeting, because here we're talking about removing something from the CRA pocket. And I mean, I want whatever businesses or whatever events or business development promotions that the city can take on, I want to take on. I don't want to lose the night market. I don't want to lose the spring market. Those are things that have benefited citywide businesses, not just the CRA, but also citywide. They have gotten so big that we have people that come from outside of the city to go to our night markets in the summer because we don't have events like that. So I support that these events or these business development promotion events need to maybe adjust to the city, but we also, in this capacity, cannot make a decision to fund it on the opposite end. So I am supportive of having this conversation. I just want to make sure that we're then having a conversation on the other side, as opposed to just making this decision that these are on the chopping block and then they're gone. So that's my concern, and that's why I really wanted to, like I said, and I said it, I'm comfortable having this conversation of the things that we need to really look at moving over, but to have that joint discussion so that we can decide it as a CRA and as a city where we can make it work and where we can't make it work. Because now we're having this conversation on this end, and we don't know what we can take over on the other end.
Chair, if I may, maybe what we can do is categorize these into no, don't want it to move forward, yes, want it to move forward, and C, talk about it as a joint meeting. And then that way we're direct, we know what we want, and because there's some that, yeah, maybe we can discuss, and there's some that I don't care to discuss for, and I don't know how my colleagues feel, but I think that's a nice organized way where we can just kind of run down the list and go from there.
Chair, I would also include, if we can, the attendance in each one of these categories as to what's the attendance. I mean, if you're not getting anybody to attend, it may be a candidate. I have, when you're talking about bringing businesses into our different businesses here, I see a lot of people going to Hurricane Alley and the little store over there and all over the place. So how do you measure that? I guess it's defined by the state or some kind of definition as to what the CRA can fund and not fund, or what is the definition of bringing people together for the support of our local businesses? How do they measure that?
If it were clearly set out in statute, my job tonight would be much easier.
There you go. Good answer. Good answer.
I apologize. The answer to that is the statute has set out several facts. The Boynton Beach CRA, like every CRA, is a dependent special district, which means it only has the powers that are assigned to it. Relevant to this case, CRAs are empowered to undertake activities, undertakings, provide services. They can involve in demonstrations. They can test techniques and report out the findings. So there are a number of words in the statute that authorize CRAs to go forth and do a variety of things. Those terms are not clearly defined in most cases. An Attorney General opinion issued in 2010, which was prior to certain statutory changes, found support for the idea that because the city, which has home rule authority, blesses the budget of the Community Redevelopment Agency, it can use its home rule authority to find that those activities are in support of CRA activities. Since that Attorney General opinion was issued, the scope of the statute was narrowed, but that Attorney General opinion was multi-part, and the entire opinion was not directly impacted by that statutory change. But it remains a bit of an open question. There is no specific definition outside of sort of general activities, undertakings, techniques, demonstrations. So there isn't a great way to look at it. In response to that, what the CRA has done, which is supported by statute, is undertake specific methods, trackable, reportable data, which is spoken to as in the statute. That's something CRAs are authorized to do. The Boynton bucks are one measure of that. They're given to attendees. Attendees take them to the business. They turn it into the business. It's $1 off, and the CRA fully reimburses that business for the Boynton buck, and through that is able to track whether that attendees' attendance at the event directly led to them going in a business. They also send out surveys and also take surveys of folks at the event, so there is really a data collection effort. That data is looked at to determine if an event was successful or not, and so we understand whether this is having the effect of driving businesses forward. Each of those efforts are undertaken to be compliant with the statute so that there's reportable data and techniques that can be demonstrated to other CRAs, but there is no sort of clear-cut.
See the financials. That's the only real way. I mean,
Right.
cut all the other word out. The real way to figure out is to look at that business's financials and see, did they do better because of this? And look at the trend leading up and look at the trend afterwards. And, not to cut you off, I'm just thinking, like, it's good in theory, but until we don't really know, unless that business is offering to give us their financials, and they're not obligated to do that.
Yeah, and I would agree with you to an extent that the finances not always, because I know people gathering information about those businesses. Even though they don't eat there that particular afternoon, I'll be coming back to this place because I'm finding out for the first time that it exists. So it's
Trend.
I mean, it's
Trends prior, trends after.
At the end of the day, it's a gray area in the law, and it's up to interpretation. There's a lot of gray in it, and it really, based on the Attorney General's previous decision, it could be understood that if the commission agrees that this is a valuable way to spend CRA dollars and we pass a budget, then therefore that's that's kind of our decision. So it's really up to the board.
And last year, there was conversation on eliminating CRAs, and here we are, instead of being
Not this year,
mindful and,
Not yet.
sunsetting and scaling back the use and scope of funds. So instead of maybe being proactive and cautionary, we're essentially, the message that I don't want to be delivered is, we don't care, we're gonna do it either way.
Yeah.
I'd rather be more on the risk-adverse side and, take the council's recommendation on what are the higher risks. I know we went through this thoroughly, Catherine, and, and we're here because Mercedes and her team have done such a great job with these events, right? And now that's why we have this question, because of success. The success has been our detriment. And so, it's hard to even identify how much of an impact. And if we're discussing about cities, outside the CRA district, then that just does us a disservice, because that's more of an argument that those funds are essentially going outside the city or CRA, and which personally I have no issue with, but what I don't want to happen is to provide any more ammunition, to Tallahassee or any, organization, entity that is going to, develop some type of reasoning to hinder our ability to redevelop.
Chair?
Yes.
From this list, Catherine, do we know which ones are really got us almost to go over the cliff? Are there any really hot potatoes in here that putting us at the break point? Or does staff maybe have some information about which one of these is kind of questionable that?
Snapshots with Santa. Snapshots with Santa.
Right, the
I mean,
boat
that seems like that's a
parade,
pretty
the night
big red
markets,
flag when it
yeah.
comes to, and, I mean, I love Santa. I'm not coming down on Santa, but I just don't know if that's like helping out the
Oh, don't come down on
businesses.
Santa.
I'm not. I
And-
know he's watching, but.
Sure. Santa is watching you. You're watching.
Okay, just getting back, is that a no?
Sure. So that event was started to be like a Rock the Plaza style event. The public just, it hasn't been received quite that way. It's really been treated more as a kind of a holiday event than a business activation event to some degree. And so if that one were to continue, in discussions with staff, the desire would be to reformat it to be something much more like a Rock the Plaza event, and not the holiday, get your snapshots with Santa. I mean, the idea was that it would attract folks to the plaza, and that they would come, and that Santa would be the inducement, but the result of that would be tremendous business generation. That has happened to some degree, but I don't want to speak out of turn, but it is my understanding from staff that the business success of that one is slightly less than the Rock the Plaza events. The intent was there, but the holiday framing did not turn out to be a service long-term to this event.
Right, because
Santa's
people will
not
just
cheap.
show up just to see Santa and then they'll leave. They're not hanging out to entertain or, to spend hours like they do at Rock the Plaza.
No, and I mean, Santa's pretty expensive.
So as I understand it,
$1,000
so as I
Santa.
understand it, Catherine, the thoughts are, so snapshots with Santa, the Rock the Block is already off because that was something that we've determined was not necessary. The boat parade is being transferred to the city. You've already spoken to city staff about that. So
Spring
the-
market, there might not be a
the
lot
hol-
of time.
The highest risk.
Right, and the holiday decor, I would like to have, I want to have conversations with the city about that because I think we finally got to the point where and I know you're talking about holiday light and decor installation because it's not permanent, but for instance, we've spoken, and I know Vice Chair Hay has brought this up, on the MLK corridor, having more permanent, whether it be banners or whether it be something that goes on the lighting. We've had many conversations about this over the years, or lighting or things like that. So I don't want to completely remove that thought process because I think there are maybe some permanent fixtures that we can consider in the CRA. So, but I understand where it comes to the holiday lighting
Yeah, and
the
to be
purpose
clear,
of that.
lighting is explicitly a purpose of CRAs in the statute. So that one's black and white. That permanent lighting is very clearly something CRAs can engage in.
Right.
And the food tour as well, because it's businesses, so that should be okay, right? That's not high risk.
Right, so depending on how it's formatted, but it could be formatted in a way that, again, is very targeted to business generation. In the off-season, this is an activity that's undertaken by similar districts around the state for the purpose we're talking about. So that would certainly be the idea moving forward.
Well, my understanding in having follow-up conversations with Mercedes about that, the Bon Appetit, is that there has been a lot of revisits and it was very successful to really enhance and bring business to our restaurants. So-
That is what the surveys are saying, yes, ma'am.
Right. So, and then I know we got sidetracked on holiday decor, and then I had the spring market and the night market to consider moving those to the city.
At least the night market.
Right.
I support the night market.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd have to ask more questions about the spring market.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared for that.
I think the other thing
Similar to the night markets, just
I think the
trying to
other thing to consider, especially for those of us who are east of 95, those downtown businesses have time and time again provided negative feedback on a lot of these events. So the businesses that we have are brick and mortar that are essentially the staple of our up and coming Daytown are being negatively impacted. The parade is one of them, which is not a CRA event, right?
Bad.
But it's time and time again, and so I think there's a long conversation, and I think a lot of these can be eliminated for me, night market, too risky for March. I don't want to enable that risk. I'm okay to have that spring market, night market. I'm okay to have the conversation for the one in the summer at the joint meeting. But if our intention is to mitigate risk, I don't know why we would move forward with one in a month or two. And I know that's a decision that needs to be made tonight based on what you informed me with, Catherine, because of the planning. And so my position is forego that, eliminate the risk, and then once we have that joint meeting, we have the conversation about the night market. And my concern about the night market in the summer is it's hot, it does get busy, and I forgot what the why was, but it definitely made sense. And so I'm okay to entertain and have that conversation with transfer to the city for economic development to handle that. However, I don't want to move forward and just put this board and our budget at risk, when we're talking about, a $150,000 event, I'm sorry, $65,000 event here in March. So I'd be okay to forego that one. And then the Rock the Plazas, I'm okay to forego outside of the heart of Boynton. My vision was was to be more of a series. Not just a one weekend thing, but more of a creative series to promote those businesses, maybe individually. I don't know what that looks like. I'll give that to staff. So that would be the placeholder I would want to keep. And then Rock the Marina and Bon Appetit, those are the ones I'd like to keep now. And then, like Commissioner Kelly said about the boat parade, I'm okay to have that conversation at the city, because that was an event that the city actually performed prior to the CRA's inception, so.
And they've already said that they would take that back,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
yeah.
Headway on this. So would we like to move on, or what do we have to do?
So if we could have, if we could have at least consensus direction on what to do with the spring market. We won't ask you for a budget amendment or anything tonight, but just consensus to work on or not work on the spring market. We do need some direction on that from you all as a group.
For me, it's no on the spring market.
Same.
Yeah, I'm okay with holding off on not doing that and having a conversation later about the future events.
If it is not unanimous, I will ask you to vote. If it's unanimous, then we don't need to.
Do we are we voting on each one? Or
Just the spring market.
Just the spring
Just the
market
spring
at this
market,
point would be pressing, and then we can take the feedback that you're giving us and prepare a joint meeting with the city to discuss the others. But again, if you all are in agreement about spring market, then we can dispense with that one. If you're not in agreement, I'll ask you for a vote.
And when is the exact date of that next joint meeting? Is it April? I believe it's quarterly, so I think it might be April. So I just want to make sure we're looking at any, I guess Rock the Plaza might be another one we want to address tonight as well.
Vicki, do you recall what the exact meeting date is? I know it's in April, I just can't remember the exact date.
If I remember correctly, it's before our meeting, which is the 14th.
So I'll start with spring market. I'll make a motion to, what's the appropriate language, Catherine, you're looking for?
Just to let's go with eliminate the spring market.
Eliminate the spring market.
Do we have a second?
All right, well, in reading faces here, and I don't mean to put words in anyone's mouth, perhaps, is...
Postpone for discussion.
Yeah.
All right, make a motion to postpone for discussion the spring market.
I'll support that. Second on that.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Angela, were you and I? Were you and I? Oh, okay. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so we will not move forward on the spring market. Would you wish to address the Rock the Plazas?
Was
we were just
there
gonna
an
post-
issue with the Rock the Plazas?
Well, there's the one Boynton, one April 9th. It comes before our next joint meeting where we want to talk about this, so.
Right, but I
think we
thought they
need-
were low risk when I talked to Catherine, but is that not the
Yeah,
case?
yes, ma'am, that is my assessment. It was just raised by Board Member Turkin a moment
Okay,
ago.
got it. I mean, I would be comfortable revisiting and seeing which ones are well-attended. I think sometimes we get some that are not as well-attended, and so maybe we can revamp the plazas to the ones that are most well-attended. I don't know if that's what you're,
I mean, because
Meantime,
looking,
do we just move forward with the April one until further discussion so that we don't skip it?
I think that's a good idea, and even looking at, when I see them in May, June, and August, it's 120 degrees out at night, so I'd like to see the attendance for that spring versus the summer.
The motion to continue with Rock the Plaza events.
You're welcome to make that motion, as it
you
is
make a
already the state of affairs. It's not required, but if you all prefer to give us that direction, you may.
We're good with consensus.
We have a consensus to move forward with the April 9th.
All right.
We're going to revisit the other three. Is that how I understand it?
No, I'm okay to nix the, all three besides Heart of Boynton. Because again, the way I look at it is we're kicking the can down the road. There may be legislation that comes next year where we can't even do it. So I'd rather budget mindfully and be proactive and prepared versus being reactive. And I think if we're going to really look at shifting things to the city, obviously there's a financial conversation that we utilize with our other hats on that we can't have here. But I think all of it kind of meshes together because a lot of these initiatives are overlapped. So that's my position.
Else have any comments?
not at this time. I think we can have a conversation later.
Okay. All right. We good on this?
Yes, we will take your direction to prepare for a conversation with the city and you all at the joint meeting, and then we will not, staff will not move forward with planning the spring market for this year.
And then we are now going to go on to 15D. Board Member Turkin, you wanted to talk about the parking in the CRA district assistance for the grant stuff,
I
which
think it
is
was
great.
not just the parking. Obviously, the parking was kind of like the birth of this concept and idea that I had. And I remember it was either interviewing with Chris or with a former candidate for the executive director position. One of the highlights of the resume was launching a program that helped, aesthetically improve properties within the CRA district, not just commercially. And so, when we looked at long-lasting impact, right, that's direct and that we can see in improving our communities, I think this is an opportunity where, obviously we can, help achieve the CRA's mission, but also two birds, one stone with some a feedback that I got at the last commission meeting. They talked about, grant programs improving their properties. Why can't the city or the CRA do that, for driveways? And so I think when you look at landscaping and, whatever, aesthetically is out in front of a commercial or single family residence, I think, we have the ability to do that there. And I think that creates a longer lasting impact, especially subjectively when we're driving around. And so I think, that helps our residents who pay in to the CRA essentially. And, it gives back and, also shows, the community that we're taking action and working and being problem solvers.
Board Chair, may I make a comment? I am delighted to report to you that your staff is actually working on a concept for this related to the code enforcement officers that you all have put in place and looking with a remediation program. So those discussions of a similar program are underway. It is staff's and legal's intention to bring you a proposed program that we're coordinating with the city in April for you all to look at that. So if you have additional feedback you'd like to provide, that would be extremely helpful. We are looking at driveways and landscape remediation. We've primarily through the code enforcement avoidance lens as kind of an alternative track. However, we also looked at reviving a prior program under the CRA to improve residential property. So if you'd like us to bring a really broad scope, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, I think that would be good. And when you say back in, coming in April, that's going to be at the joint meeting? You're
So
talking about
that's,
the CRA meeting in April.
no, we are looking at the joint meeting because it's an
perfect.
effort with the city, because the city is the code enforcement, and so this is in coordination with them. But again, we can look at that more expansively if you do not wish to limit it to the code enforcement section. That's just where we've been looking, but we're happy to bring more expansive options as well.
Yeah, if there's consensus, I would like to look at that sooner, and, that way maybe it comes back to us next month. Obviously, it's been stated that there's gonna be extension with a certain, ordinance. And so I think if we could at least get the ball rolling on this and then, tidy things up with a more larger level scope in April in conjunction with the city, I'm okay with that. But I would like to, get the ball rolling on this.
We have been conducting meetings with city staff as far as the program or future potential of their program. So just to make you aware, this is not done in a CRA bubble. This is in conjunction with the city.
Okay. My only thought and request would be for you to also have suggestions on what you think as far as budget-wise, because, and what, how we would do that if we're allocating a certain amount per home. And so then we can really look at how many people would be benefiting, because these grant programs, the money is gone before we barely put it in the account. So we want to make sure we're helping as many people as we can too. So I think it's important to know what the thought is on what the budget would be or what the ask would be, and then how that would break down, per application or per applicant, and how that looks. So just as you're moving forward with those conversations, I'd like that feedback also on what the, what have we done in the past? What did we budget? What was the previous when we had the improvement program, and how that worked, just so we can make those decisions, because we can talk about how great it's going to be and about the idea of how it's going to work, but if we don't know, the financial end of it, I think that's an important component to have at the time too. So, thank you.
Yeah, I think look at other CRAs, no need to reinvent the wheel. Pretty, help those who, are in more financial need, don't have that capability, pretty simple. But again, there's other CRAs that do it, so I think instead of working too hard, let's work smart.
Yeah, and we did it before too. We had that improvement program, so in place.
With the city?
The CRA did.
For landscaping?
No, it was for home and outside exterior home repair and fix and stuff, so.
Okay, we will have a more wholesome presentation for your input coming up, and then again, we'll look to really have a more fully fleshed package for you all in April.
Okay. Anything else from my colleagues tonight, or do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
A motion to
Second.
adjourn, and we have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Thanks so much. Have a good evening.